welcome back to the Calm and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Janine Halloran, and on today's podcast, I get a chance to interview Sophie Garner. We had a really great conversation. She is a very accomplished singer, performer, and an educator. In her words, she actually says she changes lives through singing and songwriting, and I believe that she does. She is also the author of the Creative Songwriting Journal, and that's for children ages 7 to 12. And her second book, If You Can't Sing It, Say It, is also something that she shares about on the podcast. And I just wanted to give you a quick heads up that during this conversation that I have with Sophie, there is some discussion of suicidal ideation, and there's a little bit of swearing. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of this just in case that might be uncomfortable for you or if younger ears are listening. Thanks so much. Enjoy our interview. Oh my goodness, Sophie, thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, Janine. Across the ocean.
I know. I'm so pleased that you reached out and asked to be on the podcast. I love making new connections with women and what they're doing all around the world. And your work is so interesting. And so you're new to my audience, so I want to just ask you, can you just share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Okay, so I'm a great believer in when somebody asks you what you do, you want it to be like a bullet point that just smashes into them and you sum it up really quickly, because you may have very little time and most people's patience tends to switch off. You know, we're in an environment where our focus and our patience, we're on to the next thing. It's the next cat video, whatever. So I sum up what I do in 5 words. I change lives through singing. What does that mean? I do that through, first of all, being a gigging musician. So I've been a professional singer, Jenny, for 30 years. I'm a vocal coach. That's involved being on The Voice Kids for ITV, which of course is now worldwide. So that could be auditioning the children for that. I teach students in secondary and primary education. I teach students that have been self-harming, have come from broken homes. In the UK, we call them SEN children, special education needs. I work with brain injury and dementia, and I run 4 community choirs. So that kind of sums it all up, really.
You are a busy lady. So much stuff going on, but it is all about the music for you. It is all about the power of music. And I love music. It is one of my coping skills, one of my favorites to dance.
Who's your favorite singer or band?
Oh my God, that's really challenging. So this is so weird. I really like Rihanna. I'm gonna be honest.
Do you?
I really do. I like, she's fresh. I like it.
Yeah, she's hot.
Yeah, and this is also I love Zumba, so I love Daddy Yankee.
Right, okay, brilliant. I love it. You're being honest to all your listeners now.
I am, but I also, I like Amy Winehouse. I like,
brilliant.
Oh my gosh, Adele. I love, it depends on my mood. I have different.
Sure. Very soulful artists though that you've mentioned there. Yeah. Amy Winehouse. Wow, what a incredible. So very soulful Motown, jazz inspired vocalist, fabulous.
Yep.
Yeah. So music surrounds us. It's how we naturally express ourselves. Even I've done a lot of weddings over the years and corporate events. So I've done something in excess of about 2,500 weddings. I've seen enough white dresses to probably cover the White House 20 times if you sewed them all up. That amount of silk. And even the most kind of shy people that are guests at the wedding, whether it's the mother's bride, they're up and they're dancing because we're all connected to rhythm. We all love something, and we all have an association with music from a part of our lives. And often it can be our teenage years, which is when our identity is formed. And that's one of the reasons why when people are heading towards, the great gig in the sky and they're in care homes and they're able to sing songs, from their teenage years, because our identity is formed then. So we go back to that time. And of course, that's the time when we are losing our virginity, leaving homes, doing exams, finding our place in the world, finding our tribe, and we gravitate towards people that listen to our music. And we form our social groups in that way. So when I'm in a care home and I see people just switch on and they're singing something from the 1940s, and then the song ends and it's almost like the battery's turned off. It's just incredibly powerful,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking through your website, and you talk about, like, there's lots of research that you actually mention on your website about the power of music. And I was really pulled by the music and mental health connection. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can talk about this in kind of two phases, really, which is a bit of a dichotomy. I can talk about this from my own perspective. So 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with cyclothymia, which most people don't know what that means. It's on the bipolar spectrum, and suffered greatly with depression. Just recently, I've been re-diagnosed with ADHD, adult ADHD. Incredible. And apparently it's a really big thing. Women are not, and young girls, because all the research is boys.
Yeah.
So it's not being picked up in school. And I remember just being so frustrated. I annoyed all the teachers at school, and I would lose myself through singing and songwriting. And I still have to this day my A4 book that got me through what was an extremely dysfunctional, difficult upbringing for very personal reasons, which we won't go into now, but that got me through. Cut forward to now, back in 2019, I completed a 4-year master's degree, and all my research was in singing and well-being and mental health. So just to give you an idea, when we sing, we release endorphins. Singing lowers our increases our pain threshold, so lowers that. Do you see? You get what I mean? I'm saying it the wrong way around. It increases our pain threshold, so making it easy to get through pain. It also decreases inflammation, which is an incredible thing. So if you are in pain with something, inflammation in the body, in the brain, can be decreased through singing. When you sing with other people, your heart rates match up because of your heart. You're breathing in and breathing out at the same time, and heart rates match up. I mean, what a beautiful thing to be in a room and knowing that that's happening. Memory's increased, posture is improved, lung capacity. There's so many things, but depression being such a big one, because you're amongst other people, you're sharing this commonality, you've all turned up to an area, and I'm using a choir as an example, whether it's a school choir or an adult choir. You're all singing the same song, doesn't matter how good or bad you are, everything that was occurring in the day is left at the door, because when you sing, you are in the moment. For me, singing is great for people that find meditation difficult, because you are required to be in the now, like you are with meditation. And of course, we know with meditation, your challenge is not to stop thoughts, because thoughts don't stop. It's to let them pass and go, I acknowledge you, but I'm staying focused. Singing forces you to be in the moment, breathing, looking at lyrics, being responsible for the people you're with in your harmony group. And so you forget everything. You leave your troubles at the door. And most of the children I work with are like, oh, everything's just great at the moment. And yes, they'll have to go back to what is going on afterwards, but it's all embracing, it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional. Singing ticks all of those boxes for us as humans.
And I think there are a couple of kids that I think about that I've worked with in the past that music really just spoke to them. Like, there's this one kid who he expressed himself through writing poetry, through writing
Great.
raps. And it was amazing to watch. And he's like, he trusted me enough to say, like, is it okay if I read this to you or I
Oh,
share this with
wow.
you? And I was like, yes, of course. And it helped us connect. And it was really powerful for him to be able to write out his words in that way. And I had
So
another,
special.
it's amazing. And then I had
And to have
another,
shared that with you is just,
I
that's
know.
huge.
I felt so honored that he
Yeah,
felt safe enough to do that, because he didn't feel
absolutely.
safe enough to do that at school. And then I had another client of mine who was an amazing musician. I think she knew how to play like 5 instruments and was composing her own music and struggled with anxiety, but that was something that helped get her through. So we talked about coping all the time. And so I just think it's so amazing to use music in that way. And I love that you use this with children that you work with. I love that. It makes me so excited and so happy.
It's just great. I get paid to be a kid. Like, I'm a singer songwriter, and I get paid to do what is second nature. I had a situation last week. So most recently, my work's had a brilliantly positive change in that I am now going into schools delivering my book combined with workshops here in the UK. So the book leads the workshop, leads the book, leads the work. They're like, I mean,
Yes,
that was the first book.
I was about to
And then
say,
that's the
show them.
second book. that's my kind of like my go-to phrase. If you can't say it, sing it, which just is exactly what your student that was rapping, kids don't know how to find the vocabulary. We all can remember things from childhood. And I had a conversation with my dad recently. He went, why didn't you tell me that as a kid? I went, I didn't know how to. I didn't have the vocabulary or the brain power to, and you look back and go, what an idiot I was as a child. But we didn't know how. And so if you can't say it, sing it, for me is that saying to a child, don't worry, write it down. So I had a situation last week. One of my choir members happens to be deputy head of a school. And these are the lovely opportunities that happen when it's, who you know. And she said, I need to get you into the school. I need to get you working with our children that have got some really difficult home lives and upbringing. And I went in and I delivered a school assembly in the morning to years 1 and 2 and just got them singing. And then the more serious stuff started. So I literally only had half an hour with each class. So I went from year 3 to year 4 to year 5 to year 6. And there were 2 classes per year group. It was half an hour, bang, 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 bang. So I had to, in my head, go, I've got to try and leave something for these children to have had some effect. And so I won't go into it because it would take up too much time, but I created this gentle process of teaching them how to songwrite and not even realizing they're doing it. And I made it really, really easy. And it involved the Beatles, one of their songs. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, we can write. And there was this one young lad at the end, and this has made my year. If nothing else happened this year, Janine, this would be it for me. 25 minutes into the half an hour lesson, he sat at the front, and I clocked quite early on, because you do, don't you? I'm like, right, that child, you don't even have to tell me. I know. And he was sat at the front, and they came up to me because I could see something was going off. He'd gone off somewhere. And I went, is everything all right? She went, we can't believe what's just happened. She said, through you informing them what Let It Be is all about, and basically Let It Be is about Paul McCartney's mum. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Most people think it's about Mother Mary as in Jesus and Mary. His mum was called Mary, and he lost her at age 14. She is standing right in front of it, and he dreamt about her. And and all these kids are going, oh, so it's not Joseph and Mary and Jesus. No. And, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. wake up to the sound of music, it's so they're all like starting to think really differently. Anyway, what I didn't know is this little boy, he'd lost his dad at the age of 4. Wow. And until this moment, he'd never spoken about the why and how. And it got to the end of the lesson, and in the school, as you know, news travels fast. By the time I'd got from there to the reception to meet with the head, she went, she went, can't believe what's just occurred. She went, he's never spoken about it. He's never opened up. She went, and that was just half an hour. And I went, that's the power of songwriting. Yeah. She went, we can't believe he felt safe to do it. Just.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's incredible how amazing it can just make it so much easier. And you can have breakthroughs like that. Of course, that makes your year. That's it. You're done.
That's it. For Christmas 2022, what did you achieve? That in the first week of January.
Yeah.
And it's great. And I'm going back again, and it's part of a whole school project to create a whole song. So I left that school having given every single child a piece of paper and a theme with what we're going to write. And I've now got like that amount of paper that I've got to go through. Some of them drew their lyrics because they're not able to spell. And I've now got to go through all of that, find the common themes, and I'm going to write the verses for the school song. And we will record it and sing it in July, which is going to be so empowering for them.
Oh my gosh, what an exciting thing to do.
I know. So that's my legacy school. That's my first school of doing what I've done in lots of schools, but in an official capacity with my books, which I only, published and wrote in the first year of lockdown when I lost all my work, beginning of lockdown. So it's official, if that makes sense now.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about the Creative Songwriting Journal, because I feel like that probably goes along with what you were just doing in that school.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so in a way, this is sort of my baby. As I said to you before we started our interview, I don't have children, but I just have lots of school kids.
Yep. So they're basically like your kids. I would always refer to them as my kids too.
And no stretch marks. No stretch marks. Great. I have thousands of kids. So over my 17-year career of teaching, I've taught in excess of about 4,000 children from primary to secondary, just singing and songwriting, no other subjects. And this book kind of started writing itself when I wrote my book that I told you I've had since I was a kid, and unknowingly it began its birth then. And then in lockdown, I thought, okay, I've lost all my work. I either sit in a corner and get really, really depressed and let things take hold, or I get all the journals of all the notes I've been making over the years and write this baby, which is what I did. But there was a really interesting way that this the concept of this came about. And that was through working with a teenager. And I can say her name because we're still in contact now. She was a private singing student. And this was many years ago when there weren't the safeguarding issues that there are in schools now. So, and it's important I say that because of what I'm about to tell you. She was coming to me privately at my home for singing lessons. And she turned up one day, and I'd only been teaching her for about 2 months, but I just, like you, we tuned in. The emotion walks in the door before the body. We feel the energy. And she walked in and I just went, what's going on with you? And she just burst into tears and she went, I've tried to take my own life. And I mean, you can imagine my swan legs were doing this under the surface, thinking, what do I do? How, what, I'm not in a school. She's a private student. And she said, I'm not telling anyone but you. And she was adamant, and she didn't tell anyone. but me. And I said, well, I need to tell my partner because I can't just carry this. She went, that's fine, because he opens the door when I come for my lessons. We did that. And she said, I'm not telling teachers, they don't understand. I'm being bullied at school. My parents don't understand. And so I went, right, let's start writing songs. And that's what we did. She went from, I'll be rubbish at it, to filling a journal of songs. I've still got the photocopy of the original song. She then, 4 years ago, was my case study for my first assignment. She's now a thriving, beautiful girl. I thank her in my book. We're still in touch. And she said to me, you saved my life. And I went, no, we did that together. And that's when the book wrote itself.
Yep.
At that point, because I was flying by the seat of my pants, having to take everything I've ever learned, known and trained in and fuel it into what for me was saving her life, because I was so scared. The stakes were so high. And I phoned a suicide helpline after she left that night. I was immediately on the phone. They went, you cannot break that trust. You're teaching her privately at home. You cannot break the trust. If you're in school, it'd be a different matter. She obviously trusts you. You're going to need to work through it. And so we just use singing and songwriting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that,
so it's a powerful book. This tiny little book is so powerful.
And it bubbled up. And that's how, I think that's sometimes how it is with when you write books. Sometimes it just, you have to find the person that you're writing to, and you found her. And then it just flew from there.
Yes.
And it's just, then it
that's a lovely way. Nobody's ever put it like that, Janine. That's so lovely, the way you just worded that. Because we all have our avatar, who's your target market, but the way you just framed it there was the target market found me.
Yep. Yeah. And honestly, that's how I wrote both the coping skills for kids and coping skills for teens. I would channel particular kids, like they'd like pop for me. And then I'd be like, what do I want to say to you? What did I say to you? What could I say to you if I saw you right now? Because, as you work in a school, you don't always get a chance to continue to see them. You see them for a little bit. It's so hard. It's so hard when you see them for a little bit of time. I'm like, I remember 5th grade you. How was 8th grade you? How was 10th grade you? And this is what I would say to you. And that's actually what makes it easier for me, at least, to write. Then I can be like, and this is what I'd say.
and you know that there's something really authentic about that as well, Janine, because the fact that you can say that about your book and I can say that about mine, we didn't just write to a standard 14-year, they are real people.
Yep.
We have written about real hardcore flesh and bone children with issues. They're not just a made up thing. Yeah.
And
it makes really powerful.
It does. It brings it to life in a different way. Yes, it's very authentic. And that's, I love that is how yours was created. And I think that's phenomenal. I think it's phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I could talk to you forever.
Likewise.
I know, it's so much fun. But what I want to do is just, before we wrap up, I want to just ask one more question that I ask everybody else. How do you like to rest and recharge?
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is quite embarrassing. And I don't have one to show you.
I said I like Rihanna. Here we are.
Okay. I'm gonna show you on a phone because I don't have one in the room. This is how I relax. Well, there's 2 things I do. First of all, most people think, oh, do you sing? No. Because I'm singing all the goddamn time. So what I do is I relax with Cindy dolls.
I love it. That's incredible. I think that's so cool. I love it.
It is quite nuts. So basically, and again, I know what's going on there. It's child play, it's therapy.
Yep.
And I'm fully aware of it, and it's immersive. And again, it's going back to mindfulness, Janine. Some people crochet or knit, that's now a big thing. Some people do yoga. I lose myself. And even, I mean, this is just like an outfit that somebody's just made for one of my dolls, because they're going to be, I'm doing like a diorama of a famous program in this country called Abigail's Party. I've even got, wait for this, tiny glasses.
I love it. I love it.
That is it. That's how I relax. And there is a world of women that are in high-powered jobs. I know a barrister that does Cindy. And I'm actually creating it shouldn't be work, but I'm creating a Cindy summit here in the UK for people to go to.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. Thank you so much for being brave enough to share that with me. I think it's amazing. And I tell people this all the time. The reason why I became a child and adolescent therapist is because I get to color and I get to play games.
I was going to say, like for me too, that's another thing, stationery and making like miniature things for the dolls and stuff. Well, how do you relax? What do you do?
It's interesting that you mentioned I crochet and I knit. And
you?
Yes, since I was a kid. My mom does it. My mom taught me how to crochet, and then I took it, and I'm the type of person, like, if I really lock into something, I lock in. So then I was like finding different patterns. I've made I've made blankets. I love quilting too. So I taught myself how to quilt, like hand quilt, hand stitch.
Lovely. Do you make things for people? Do people get presents from you? Are they like, Janine's going to make something personal, or?
My kids do. I don't tend to give other people my stuff, because kind of like I've worked really hard on it, and so I display it. So I worked on this. One of my things that I did over COVID was I finished this like Underground Railroad quilt, and so it's just displayed in my room.
Whoa! So like an underground map, like we've got the the London Underground with all.
So it was the way that the slaves were able to get out of the South.
Sorry, right? Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's so powerful.
And it was
crikey.
And what was so neat about it is they used quilts to direct people where to go. Like, this is a safe house. You can find food here. You can find shelter here. This is the next direction where you need to go. Yeah. And it's an incredible, my mother-in-law, who's amazing at quilting, gave me this book, made a quilt for her son's class, her littlest one. And then I got it. And then I was like, well, I got like period fabric. I learned how to hand stitch. I hand quilted it. Oh yeah. I went the whole 9 yards.
That's
so I'm not giving that away.
Incredible.
That's mine.
Wow. That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it was really fun. It was a fun project. And it was one of those things I had sort of put off, but with COVID, I was like, well, I'm going to sit and I'm going to finish this. And so we did. And it was
that's meditation. That is meditation. You're doing something, you're totally immersed in it. And I think it's really important for people like us when we're working, and what we do is everything's giving. It's like tonight, I've got my fourth community choir of the week. It's the second week, and I will give. And, Cindy's there at the end, just like your quilt, going, come and play with me.
Exactly.
Relax.
Yeah. And it soothes, it calms. I'm ready to go the next day. And that's what I need. Oh my gosh. I've had such a great time talking to you.
Me too.
Where can people find you? If they want to find out more information about you, where should they go?
Okay. So they can go on my website, which is sophiegarner.com. They can find me on Twitter, which is Sophie Garner. My Facebook page is Sophie Garner Author, but the website is just the easiest thing. My phone number and everything, sophiegarner.com.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I'll link to that in the show notes. Thank you so
Fabulous.
much. I'm so excited that we are together and now we're connected. We're going to talk again.
We're good. We are.
Thank you,
Janine.
for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.